truly my pleasure, Mr. Nagpal, to have you give this talk, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you for such a wonderful inauguration, and we are going to take this further from here. I think when we were discussing, Professor Kamath and myself and the whole team, the whole purpose is that what in healthcare is happening and where we should move forward. Now, all these things have, which I'm going to share with all of you in next say 40 minutes or so, is something which is picked up from the scenario which India gives us as a whole, and then what we should do as organizations or academia to see that where we can take this country forward. So I'll share with you a couple of slides first, and this is more on the technology what we are talking about. So before getting into that, so let's see some of the global healthcare indicators. If we talk about beds per 1,000 population, USA is 3.1, China, which is very similar to our economy in terms of at least population, we are at least half of what China has. So this shows that we have a huge scope of improvement on overall beds available for the population. In terms of spending, this spending is something which was there from the survey which was done a couple of years back. Looks like this is moving towards 1.7, 1.8% as of now, with various indicators coming through. So, but still it is very small compared to some of the developed economies. In terms of private health spend, that is little better, but still a huge gap versus again some of the key countries where healthcare is prevailing nicely. Per capita spend on average spend on individual is about $50 in India, which is way less than any other developed economy, especially managing the healthcare for each of their persons in their country. Now, India is a huge country. We know some of the pressures coming because of that, but overall, this indicates that we have a lot to go further and a lot to improve upon. If I move to quickly the next slide, India has considerably progressed. While we saw that some indicators are not in line, and a lot to be done on that. But you see the life expectancy from 32, which probably is moving towards 68 to 70 years now, is a significant step for overall life age of Indian individuals. So this has moved a lot. In terms of beds, we saw it less, but from where it has come to where it is moving towards, and looks like in next 2 decades, this will be much higher, maybe 2.5, the way the things are moving right now. And in terms of healthcare spend, this is again from a very to a huge spend which is happening currently. So this is a good growth, lot to catch up, but we are in right direction. If we see how healthcare facilities are available in India, a quick look on how rural versus urban. So if we see the population mix, about 31% people stay in urban area and the rest of the population stays in rural. In terms of age group, the good thing is we have 66% of people which are less than 35 years. So this is huge plus for India, but at the same time, the population which is above 60 years and which is 35 to 59 years is also a decent percentage, and this will increase in next 1 to 2 decades. Now, this is something which we should keep in our mind, that a huge population is moving towards aged population, and that we need to ensure as a country is well taken care of. In terms of hospitals, major hospitals are in urban area, less in rural. Doctors are similarly positioned, beds are similarly positioned, and we also see that doctor to patient ratios are very off if we have to manage that. So this uh, equilibrium has to be brought in, that urban as well as rural hospitals are well enough to take care of population. How it moves in next few years, that is something which we all have to work upon. How the ecosystem is moving towards healthcare in India, and these are some of the thoughts what we have put together. On healthcare providers, what we are seeing is healthcare providers are also increasing in rural. There are big chains like Apollo's also want to open their centers in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities, supporting through CHCs, public health centers, individual private centers, and then managing them. Some successful examples have happened in some states. These things will expand further, because these chains and individual hospitals or service providers have started seeing that they can also do well in rural segments. Medical devices productivity has to increase, and that comes with various factors, from the device itself, from the user, how they manage to put it onto the patient, and certain schemes, like if a device like an ECG is put in a healthcare center, is it going to take care of only that few villages which are connected to that center, or it can be mobile and it can go to the patient. So that we need to see that how productivity can increase. And there is a huge need based on the requirement in rural about the diagnostics. Now, whether it is an X-ray, which is a diagnostic, whether an ECG cardiac, it's a diagnostic, whether certain lab test, which comes as a diagnostic, to at least come to that level what patient has, and then the other path of treatment will start about that. But first thing first, the measurement has to happen about a human anatomy, a human body. It could be as simple as a blood pressure measurement, and things have to be taken from there. Now, at the same time, on insurance side of it, we are seeing that there is a huge connect started happening on insurance. It is just started. A lot has to be done on that, so that a lot of public is covered under healthcare, and that's how overall framework can be well defined when a lot of people are connected to a framework in healthcare system. Now, in this side, the Prime Minister's Modi Care scheme has done wonderfully well, that it started connecting a lot of people, a lot of households, for a 5 lakh insurance for a small amount of payment, and then hospitals are also getting aligned towards giving that PM care. This penetration helps in better accessibility, better availability of infrastructure for overall healthcare. So this is moving in that direction. In terms of patients, there is population, as we talked about in the last slide, it's increasing, and the overall GDP is getting better. Overall propensity to pay is improving, so patients are ready to spend on healthcare infrastructure or for healthcare services which keep them fit, either from overall healthy lifestyle to getting some treatment on some of the diseases. So we are seeing all that is happening now, and scale is also going to help overall infrastructure, because if certain section of people start spending on their healthcare, I think this suddenly becomes very big in India. There is a huge burden from the lifestyle diseases. India is known to be the biggest market for blood sugar, and that's something everyone wants to come and test on us, that what medicine will work and what medicine will not work. And similarly, the way we are having our eating habits, sleeping habits, the way we work and all that, a lot of things like hypertension and so on, it's coming up. The way we are using the country's infrastructure, patients in cancer are increasing, patients in cardiology treatment are increasing a lot. So we need to see those sections as well. In terms of manufacturers, a lot started happening in India. R&D started happening in India. We are seeing the devices are being made in such a way that these are first step are very much required for Indian customers. You may have seen it, some local presence in giving ortho care, and that's very much coming up and seeing that, okay, we need to stretch our body and let's put it like this, and that body gets stretched, and patient gets a little benefit. So some of those things are coming up. Some infrastructure on regulatory is coming up, and overall customization in terms of domestic market needs is improving. So all that is making a 360-degree holistic healthcare infrastructure in country, where we have insurance, where we have patients, where we have service providers, and where we have manufacturers also. So everyone is in that framework, and everyone has something to work upon to see that overall healthcare infrastructure gets better. And all this actually will drive the growth of overall healthcare in terms of spending, in terms of providing care, in terms of better lifestyles, etc., and see that Indians overall are healthy. So what's increasing? So we saw that from year 2008 to 2014, Indian healthcare device industry. Now this device also includes the accessories, the consumable business as well, and this was growing by about 10%. Last 6 to 7 years, what we have seen it, this is growing by about 15%. Now, what's growing big? Now, if you see in 2020, this $1.8 billion, which is growing by 19%, this is nothing but patient aids and others. This is something, where we are talking about all those products and devices which are not only used in hospitals, but these are also being used in patients' homes. Hospitals are not going to take care of so much of burden what is coming because of aging population, because of number of people in the hospital. So something has to be ready for patients at home, and that's why home health devices are increasing a lot. And that's what I said, these are increasing by about 19% in last 5-6 years. This is a huge growth, because that gives some kind of a care to the patient at home. Some orthopedic aids, the beds, the wheelchairs, and so many other devices which are part of this, and that helps the patient. At the same time, the biggest market is instrumentation and appliances, and these are growing very decently at 15%. This is the biggest, about $3 billion. This includes dialysis, this includes transfusion, this includes some CT scans and MRIs. Some of those products are also part of that. In diagnostics, which is another 13% growth, which comes to about 2.3 billion. And consumable and implants, though it is showing 14%, but more and more patients landing up in hospital, these consumables are going to grow up. So we are seeing overall about $8 to $9 billion about 2 years back, which is growing by a decent 15% every year in healthcare requirements. Everything is growing, whether it's consumable, whether it is requirements at home, whether it is diagnostics or treatment and other appliances, etc. So this gives us an idea, okay, what we are doing and how it is reflecting in terms of Indian healthcare medical device space. Now, some challenges are around, and I think this will give us some thoughts that what we should do differently in terms of macro environment, which is overall available in India. Our doing ease of business is little bureaucratic right now. It is getting better over last few years, but still a lot to be done. Regulation was not very strong. Regulatory environment is getting built up. We are seeing BIS is coming up. We are seeing CDSCO is taking up there, and some things are being put up, but still it is a long way. It's just a beginning. In terms of preference, till date, or maybe till a year back, at least no one was even talking about giving preference to Indian products. That's why we are saying about 80 to 85% of products are getting imported in India, and a small portion of it, especially coming from less technical technical requirement of a product, those products are being, put across in India. It could be, plastic catheters, it could be, syringe pumps or something similar. Syringes, not even pumps, syringes, so those kind of requirements were getting fulfilled from India, but technological products were not being preferred. Everything was coming from outside. Labor laws, when we do production, some challenges coming around that, and financing costs are higher, which is about 10 to 12% when you ask for funding from banks when you are setting up an R&D facility or a production facility or sales and distribution facility. So that's a huge cost. In terms of ecosystem, the raw material, the suppliers, no one is making chips here in India, and we have started seeing some challenges on the chip side of it, display side of it, some high voltage capacitors, some other signal generator ICs, etc., which because of global demand and supply imbalance, especially in last 1 year or so, has also throwing a lot of challenges on the medical devices itself, as well as as simple as mechanical items or other things similar to that. There is no standard infrastructure around that, so we need to build up around that. We need to also see that we have testing facilities also build up around that. We also need to see that animal labs are set up for that, and we also see that there is no structure innovation setup, which is academia to industry or some other way is set up uh, as of now. So we see some gap around that. In terms of industry, we have unfavorable duty structure. Uh, Items which is coming from outside get their GST claim back versus those into producing from India. Not necessarily they may get GST for everything. So that gap starts coming up there. Product life cycle is presumed to be longer because you need to test it, you need to bring some products at a level which are at global level, and when you start getting to that, their stabilization, their reach out to patients and their clinical validations, that all takes time. Regulations, we said, is complex but started in right direction. And quality certifications and what we need to go to the market with that certification which customers accept is still recently was being asked as no one where it was being talked about that BIS or similar certifications will work. So this has to be done. A huge work has to be done around that, and still Indian uh, industries or Indian manufacturers are not thinking too big and too loud. I think the way certain products can be thought about, we are still into smaller projects. We are still into those products which does not require a lot of efforts to reach out to market and easy to go to the market. Those products are being done, but I think the time has come now. At least last decade has been good, at least in stabilizing those things. Time has come that we should think very big about the R&D setup and production. So all has to be seen together when we are talking about make in India products. Now, coming to a little bit on the technology and innovations, and then we talk about products from here. A lot has happened, a lot is happening in last few years. We talk about less invasive diagnostics. We talk about that how can we measure hemoglobin without taking the blood sample, and so many other things around that. We are seeing a lot of mobile apps are coming which are patient facing. You put a finger or you do a wearable device and then you start seeing that mobile apps are started helping in health of a patient or a person. A lot of remote monitoring. Can I take an ECG and then send it to a cardiologist, and cardiologist says it's okay, and I stay at home, and if he says no, then I go to the hospital and start seeing that. A lot of digital platform integration we saw in COVID. All the hospitals are talking about giving online consultation to the patients, and see that we are integrating that into the connected health as an overall. So, surgical tools are taking over doctors in terms of surgeries. Earlier, 5 doctors used to do surgery, probably with a robotic arm or similar. We can have 3 doctors and one robotics arm can do a surgery. So that will help us to reach out far and reach out deep. Small ancillary service, can I give you a ventilator today, and can I have some kind of support structure available to patients when they need it. uh, Home use devices are in abundance, whether we talk about blood pressure, we talk about finger pulse oximeter, we talk about thermometers, we talk about full body weighing scales, etc., which start giving you some indication of, okay, where are we in terms of health, blood sugar measurement, etc., that's coming there. In terms of AI, a lot work started on that, like X-ray and CT scan images are being read by AI, and ECG is being read by AI and taking decisions around that. Smaller implants, from bigger to smaller. 3D printing, those devices which were difficult to make, now we can make it immediately. So some thought process in terms of technology, all this is going to help healthcare. It has already started helping, and we need to see that how we pick up each of these things to make an Atmanirbhar Bharat, and then from these devices we grow global. So this is the framework which we should definitely use about, because this is very much in use across the healthcare sector. Now, coming to some of the opportunities what we have in medical device industry. Now, we have talked about a lot of burden on healthcare, especially the cardiac, as well as cancer-related thing, which is lifestyle-related thing. And recently, we have seen from last 2 years, and uh, the way things are going across, not only in India, at many countries, a lot of respiratory diseases are on increase. And COVID is also giving respiratory distress, and there we need to see that both in terms of diagnostics and therapeutic devices used to come. Now, when we go to cardiac, there is non-invasive devices, there are invasive devices, and we need to see that whatever we make end to end. Okay, now on the product side, cath lab is such a wonderful thing which helps in doing angiograms and angioplasties, and then there are a lot of associated products which come along with that suite, that how we are positioned ourselves while the cardiac requirements are very high in the country, how we ensure that these are fulfilled. Cath lab is one such thing. CT, MRI, PET scanners. Now there are certain companies which are making, not too many though, there are certain companies are making a CT scan in India, which is such a wonderful thing that till now everything was coming from outside. So now why can't we start making it big in terms of CT and MRI, which still 95% or 96% of the Indian requirement is coming from outside India. Ultrasound is another product. Again, it's a diagnostic product, both in terms of radiology, gynecology, obstetrics, in terms of cardiac. We are selling in India more than 11 to 12,000 boxes every year in terms of ultrasound, and it's very sad to see that no true R&D as well as manufacturing capacity in India. Again, couple of companies which has come and they are making some products in India, but again technology from outside India. It's just on a steady basis they are bringing, and production is happening in India. So huge market, and if we set things right, starting from complete product and adding a lot of options which are required both for radiology and cardiology segment. With those things, if it is coming, I think we can straight away talk about 3 to 4,000 units out of the total requirement can be fulfilled from India. It can be a good start. In terms of therapeutics, a ventilator is coming for respiratory. We all know that. Anesthesia is coming. Patient incubators are coming, and then there are plethora of products which we are talking about in healthcare based on each segment. Huge requirement. We need to see that these products are performing well. These should pass through certain tests, which are either EMC tests or safety tests or particular standard requirements which are there, or probably some set rules what we have from our own government of India through BIS and CDSCO. I think this needs to be thought through. We need to think big. Otherwise, all these products, or at least 80% plus, will keep coming from outside India, and we become just the user of these products. To do this, we need high-end incubators. Technopark can pick up certain products and see that in next 1 or 2 years we bring it to some level, and then either design transfers or production licenses or some similar arrangements can be done with the industry, and see that this starts getting produced in India. Now we also have a huge opportunity in subsystems. One side I talked about complete system. We also see huge opportunity in that. Like in whole X-rays, we talk about X-ray systems in India. We have about 15,000 units, all put together are required in country. And this X-ray units, detectors, they are in patient monitoring. We have gas monitoring. In X-ray system, we have the monoblocks and generators, some other probes which are required in ultrasound, some sensors in patient monitoring, and so on. I think there is a lot to be done at modules level, because some of the devices which starts getting manufactured in India are heavily dependent on these subsystems. No one manufactured detectors. We are getting from outside India. Generators, some of them are being made. Some special generators are coming still from outside. So we need to see that how can we convert first into these subsystems, and then we move to the product level. Probably a journey could be required on that front. If we talk about medical IoT, which is Internet of Things, connected health is the future. Now we talk about remote installation of the products. We talk about analytics from our device. We talk about measuring the health from the patient. I think this is going to be future. As I said, not all hospitals can give every care to the patient. Probably the tertiary care will be given to the patients in the hospitals, and the primary care could be given in a smaller clinic or even at the homes. So for that matter, there is a huge space where we have to see that medical IoT comes in play, and we have overall connected health. From CT scans, we are taking the images. From images, we send it to a doctor. Doctor reports it. Patient gets benefit, or AI takes over it, or for that matter, lab reports. Only the person comes to the home to collect whatever minimum is required, and then we have the report coming to you on your mobile, and everything is with your physician. So a lot around that is again possible. In terms of home health, we have again from screening to monitoring to wearables, from mobility required, web-based consultations. In terms of therapy, the huge market. There is so many senior citizens in India. The population is increasing. They require some kind of a support at home, and this is possible when families, doctors, patients come together, and some of these devices which are going to help them, they are measuring them correctly. I think very high quality devices, both in terms of measurements and therapeutics and patient assist, should help. And again, I'm saying something is being done in this space in India, but not at the level which it should be, to be ready at least in next decade to support our aging populations of the country. So a huge thing can be done on this front so that patients get benefit. Again, in terms of consumables and reagent, most of these are required when you are in hospital, whether it is wound management because of blood sugar. The management becomes very difficult, so you need to have specific dressings, specific devices to manage that. And from there, sutures in hospital, anesthetic reagents, circuits, sanitizers, a lot of plastic things. And this, if designed well, many things can start very quickly in India, because these does not have a huge technical requirements. Once it is identified, okay, what's the right way to do it, it will start getting manufactured, and this will fall under class A and class B categories. So it would be easy for us. So this can be again a segment. By the way, this segment is the biggest right now, because this is repetitively required in hospitals and clinics and nursing homes. So this becomes a huge segment where research and development can happen and can cover a major portion of the requirements in the country. Now, we talked about certain products, but at the same time, when we are in designing of these products, it is very important that we also use some of the tools which help us to reach the outcome. Now, all these tools are also coming from outside India. Examples, some of the simulation devices. There is a huge scope in making these tools. Some tools are as low as probably 2 lakh rupees a license to probably 50 lakh rupees a license. So these licenses becomes uh, so heavy for a person who are into R&D and manufacturing. And these are necessary things, because until you use them well, you will not be able to bring out a product which is so good to be used on a patient. So these tools are very critical, and these can be software as well as hardware tools, in terms of printed circuit board analysis, in terms of power analysis, in terms of some design analysis, that how the design will work, how robust it is, in case of stress, how it will work and how it will fail, in terms of the movability, how it will be smooth or how difficult it is, and so on. I think a huge scope is there on this side of it. So if we are talking about research and development, we cannot just remain on mercy of someone else's tools. Someone has to see that we bring that in India. Again, this is part of the holistic development. Without this, it would be very difficult to come out with a very quality outcome on a medical device. So this has to be part of the integration. In terms of skill enhancement, a lot of trainings are required. We have made the products, we are into an infrastructure, someone has to use, until the medical professionals as well as the biomedicals, or even the people who are producing those products are properly trained, this will not bring a uniform experience on overall healthcare. So I think this is a huge requirement on that. And when we are talking about overall development, we need to see that teams are knowledgeable about AERB processes, teams are knowledgeable about ISO processes, teams are knowledgeable about C certification processes, particular standards. When we are talking about, we discuss with some of the companies which are new and they want to make a product, but when they make a product and then they say, oh, I need to go for a certification, and then that product is not passing the certification because it is not designed as per certain standards. So I think that knowledge has to come at the beginning itself when we are talking about developing that product. And overall, I think this is to be seen as integral part of the requirement when we are talking about developing. All this needs to be given as training for whosoever is working on that, whether a researcher or whether the people supporting them. They need to be aware of what's happening on that front. Now, I'll just quickly take you to a snapshot on what BPL is doing. BPL is established 8 years back. We just celebrated our completion of 8 years of our journey in the new form. Though BPL Medical was set up in 1963, and a new investment came through Goldman Sachs, and there we are as a new company, which is BPL Medical. We focused a lot on product side of it. We started playing in certain categories of the product, which is cardiology, critical care, women and child, imaging, home health, and consumables. And whatever we did in last 8 years were in these product categories. We brought a lot of products from ECG to defibrillator. We revamped our whole complete product structure. We brought new features. We brought stability, and seen that these are well accepted by the users. And a lot of effort happens on the production and distribution side of it, because you need to produce the right produce, and we have our factory in Kerala, which is at Palakkad. Our headquarters is in Bangalore, and we have 12 field offices, and then many locations where our sales and service team members are located. And we have clients in India and in various segments, and we have also started going global. So last 3 to 4 years, there has been some journey which has started to go global as well. Our team ensures that we have that organization DNA, which is probably 360 degrees, because you need to develop a product and you need to take it to the consumer, and in between there is a huge steps that's required. If a product is made and we start seeing that it will easily go to the user, sometime it doesn't happen, and you need a lot of efforts to do that. With our efforts, we got a lot of awards and recognitions in last many years. And last 6 years back, we also had one acquisition in UK by name Penlon, and Penlon is into anesthesia and vaporizers. They were the first to bring laryngoscope, which was developed through professors of Oxford University, because this Abingdon is very close to Oxford. So a lot of Oxford professors also, keep guiding Penlon from last 77 years. So this is overall BPL snapshot. So what we have achieved in terms of products, we have brought a new EC, brought a new defibrillators, we have brought in critical care patient monitoring system. In imaging, we brought mobile X-ray, the fixed X-ray, digital X-rays. In terms of critical care and imaging is again C-arms, which are used in OT table. And then there are many other projects which are going on. And within these, we have huge range of options. Those are developed. Example, on defibrillator, you need to have pacing option. And when, as an Indian company, probably we are the first to introduce pacing option in our defibrillators. And when we went for clinical trials at Manipal Hospital, they said probably this is the best pacing we have seen, even better than some of the multinationals. So I think this gives us a big boost, a big comfort that yes, we are in right direction in whatever we are producing, and positioning these products not only for India but for going global. So we have certifications. All the products what we are seeing in this are all CE certified. This requires huge effort, probably 2.5 years of effort for us to get these CE certified and taking to the global market. So we recently got that in April, and now we are taking all these products to the global market as well. This is our manufacturing ISO 13485, which is a must for a healthcare manufacturing. Not only manufacturing, but all our processes, being in sales, service, R&D, or similar, all are ISO 13485 certified, and that's actually helping us as an overall thing. So on quickly on Penlon, this is the product range. These are the products what we have developed. Right now, very strong on anesthesia and vaporizer. Vaporizers are the drug delivery system when a patient is in operation theater. Some of the products are very niche, like what we have made, the desflurane vaporizer. This desflurane vaporizer probably is there with only 3 companies in the world, including Penlon. This becomes our niche product, and we have ventilators which are used on anesthesia. So a huge improvement, and Penlon does business in 96 countries. So this is again a very good for us to be present globally. Thank you. And I think we as an organization are committed for India and global healthcare, and we'll continue to work towards that. The key is that we feel that we need to come more closer to academia like IIT Kanpur and see that some of the things we can fast track through projects and make it available early and with high quality to the patients of the country. So thank you.